Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patrick Dunawilla. Welcome on back to Chart Request Live. Joining me today on the charts, we got none other than Sam Gatlin. Sam, how we doing?
I'm good. I'm cold. It's in the teens here in Kansas. There's snow on the ground. It feels like winter.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Well, it's quite cold up here too. Hopefully getting some skiing in, making the best out of it. We'll see. But what do you think? What do you think of this market?
Yeah, I think international stocks continue to stand out. I saw a tweet from Todd Sohn just a few hours ago that so I wanted to mention it on this show. There's no interest at all in European financials, but look at this basing pattern. This ETF came to exist just after the Great Financial Crisis. So imagine that this is like a Great Financial Crisis base, kind of like a Citibank.
Yeah,
that's kind of the setup here. But anyways,
minus the big old mess in 08.
Right,
but if this ETF was around back then,
chart.
You'd probably see something similar, right? Like a giant decline into the space.
That's exactly right.
And probably the individual components are probably dealing with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But nonetheless, this is an incredibly well-defined level of interest here. It was the high in 2011, high in 2014, peaked there again in 2018. Here you are. Are there still bag holders here? Maybe. We'll find out, but I think this is front and center.
Fantastic chart here. Are you thinking about it more for intermarket information, or is this the trade? Is this one, is this where we want to be?
It depends on who you are. I think there's a lot of opportunities there. Financials aren't the most juicy stocks inherently, so they're not really for me. But you could use options. I know Sean and Steve are doing that very, very successfully. So I think that is a valid option. But
as far as the market information point of view, I think you'd agree, European financials breaking out, probably not bearish, right? I mean, this has been kind of a joke throughout my whole career. European financials, like one of the worst areas, but can't say that now, right?
It's still a relative underperformer, but to see it make new highs in absolute terms is incredibly bullish. You don't have bull markets without financials.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, dude, we got a packed mailbag here, so let's just dive right into it and knock out as many of these as we can so we can get to the chat. Let's kick it off with APLD.
Okay. So this is Applied Digital Corporation. I believe this is, just around $2 billion. And if you want to check out the short stats, I know there's quite a bit there, Patrick. Yeah. So this one used to be a Bitcoin miner, and they switched to being more of like an AI data center play, kind of like a Snowflake. I think we'll pull that chart up. It's a very similar bearish to bullish formation. Applied Digital is a little bit stronger, but nonetheless, it's shaping up quite nicely here. I don't know if you want to call this a cup and handle, really. It's more of just a base on base structure. But you bottomed here in 2022, and you didn't get much upside follow through. Instead, you came down and carved out another multi-year basing pattern. And here you are kind of bull flagging on the weekly chart, consolidating, in my opinion, getting ready for a fresh leg higher. Let's outline some levels of interest in this one.
And Sam, I just checked, 25% short interest is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I knew it was pretty aggressive, but
pretty juicy.
Yeah, for sure. This one can move. So this one has rallied about 1,000% off the 2022 lows. So this is not a European financial stock. This one can move. So I think you can just jump the entry at about $10. You don't really have to wait for this 13 and a half. If you have a short time frame, you could use that as your initial target. So $10 gets you to 13 and a half. Ultimately, I think you're wanting to take this one back to these former highs around $30. 21 and a quarter could also be a short-term level of resistance. I'd imagine there's some bag holders up here from the last cycle that this acted as support back in 2021. So we'll see, but this is a great setup, super actionable here. You can just buy the breakout above this channel. I think you could drop a WAP there. You could go down to a daily chart, get a little bit more of a precise VWAP level. So let's call it 8.5. That is the entry. 8.5 gets you to 13 and a half. That's $5.
Let's take a look at Google. 3 to 6 month time frame. This one's from Nick.
Okay. Well, let's look at Google for you, Nick. So Google is, let's see, $2.25 trillion in market cap. Nothing to sneeze at here. I think we all know about Google. They have multiple business lines. They have the YouTube, they have the Google, they have the Waymo. What else do they have, Patrick?
Oh man, they got a ton of them.
Yeah.
It's basically a giant conglomerate, right? It's like 100 companies in one.
It's like a tech fund.
Yeah.
No.
In fact, I think they switched the name to Alphabet because they have a company for every letter of the alphabet.
Is that right? I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
Huh. I wondered what the deal was with Alphabet.
Yeah, right. It's a weird one.
Makes sense.
I wouldn't have picked that one, but.
No, super clean level here. The Fibonacci extension from this prior drawdown from 2021. So it fell about, let's call it 50% in a matter of a little over a year. And it came back, it printed fresh all-time highs in the spring of 2024. Quickly hit the first Fibonacci extension level in the summer, and has been consolidating ever since then. Here you are back at the scene of the crime. 194 is the line in the sand. If Google's above there, you can own as much as you want, but I think it's messy. Probably needs more sideways consolidation if it's below that level. So I really like how clean this one is. If it's above 194, it gets you to 260. I think that's the trade.
Makes sense. Let's move on to ONON here. This one's from Danny. Says it's gone up and to the right the last 2 years. Is the trend still intact? And is there some levels that you would recommend exiting?
For sure. I heard Jeff Mackey on the morning show today talking about this one.
Retail expert.
Yeah, he's going to be going live with JC this afternoon. So
this afternoon?
Yeah, so
nice.
Everybody needs to go there if you want to learn more about ONON. I'm no expert in the shoe business, but Jeff Mackey sure is. So don't miss that. It'll be excellent as always. But yeah, as far as levels go, 50, I think you could call it 55, somewhere in that range. That's really the level of interest here in the ONON, and today you are slipping below it.
Are you ready to call this the fail breakdown or not yet?
That's tough. I mean, it is a valid failed breakout because it's taken out these pivot lows from December. So in my opinion, yeah, it is. But do I want to go out shorting this? Not really. ONON has been a leader. I don't know if there's a shoe ETF, but you can just like look at ONON relative to the S&P 500. This one has been a strong performer. It's a very similar setup running into the shelf of former highs. I want to err on the side of just more consolidation is needed. Maybe the buyers step in closer to 45. And that's a nasty move if you bought this potential breakout, but I think structurally this thing is still intact. So yeah, keep an eye on that 50
And I think
55
this
level.
chart is it has the same issue that a lot of these IPO bases have right now, whether it's like Hood or Bros or I mean like Palantir had this problem before it really cleared. And what I'm talking about is like that first IPO candle. A lot of them just have these like ridiculous wicks, and it can be kind of hard to really define the breakout, right? Like, do you use the weekly close? Do you use the daily close? Do you use the intraday high? You know, um, and that's kind of a similar issue on that on chart.
That's a really great point, Patrick. That's just where we are in the cycle right now.
Right.
These stocks have repaired all of the damage from the prior bear market, and as to be expected, there's some bag holders up there. So let it dance. Don't get too anxious about this one. Just let it prove it to you. I think it eventually gets the job done, but it's below that 55 level right now. So I think you have to give the benefit of the doubt to the bears in the very short term, but over longer time frames. I like this one.
Got another nasty fail breakout for you here. KTOS, Kratos.
Okay. So this is aerospace and defense, I believe. Yep, 4.5 billion. Let's see. This is a very long-term pattern here. So this is a cup and handle-ish type pattern on the monthly chart. You know, you had a nasty drawdown after the IPO back, really when the dot-com bubble was peaking. So what a time to go public. This one suffered a 99.8% drawdown. Finally bottomed in 2015 after selling off for 15 years. They really kicked the shit out of this one. But here it is, pressing against a key level of interest, which is $30. This was support back in 2001. It became resistance in 2006, 2007, and once again in 2021. So this is an incredibly well-defined level of interest. $30 will get you to, gosh, I want to say 175, 180, but that's a pretty extreme move. I think you could just measure out this basing pattern right here, the little handle. Look at $50 as an initial target. I think that's a little
Makes
bit more
sense.
realistic for most people here. And if you have a 3 to 5 year time frame, then I see no reason for this one to not head towards this shelf of former highs from 2003, 2004. But this is a great setup. Shout out whoever brought this one along.
That would be Danny. Danny.
Danny, love it.
Let's move on. Something a little more intact. BYD. BYD, Chinese EV maker, right? BYDDF is the ticker.
Yeah, so this is the build your dreams. Straza was telling me the other day that this is the first stock he So this is a $130 billion auto manufacturer. I believe this one is from China. Do I have that right?
You got it.
From Shenzhen. Not sure if I'm saying that right.
Sounded right to me.
Yeah, good enough. I don't speak Mandarin. So let's say that 40. This wick from June 2022 is what you're looking to trade against. So that's 43 and a half. You're about 65 cents above that right now. So as of this second in time, this is a valid breakout.
Yeah.
And I think you can be long with a target of 58. So that is about 30% upside. Um, I think this is a very similar chart. It's like identical as, let's overlay them. So BYD and Tesla are like the exact same. BYD is basically the Tesla of China, if you will. But they're the same, and you see Tesla is not really near that breakout level. It failed there and is making new multi-month lows. So I think this breakout in BYD is kind of suspect until Tesla can figure it out. But let's see one last chart. Let's look at the BYD relative to Tesla. See which one's really the winner there. I think you want to err on the side of Tesla as the leader. It's kind of messy in the short term, the last few years, but long term, Tesla has been the clear winner. What else do we have, Mr. Patrick?
I got Expedia for you next. EXP. I haven't looked at this one in a while.
So I didn't know this, but Spencer was talking about Expedia being the owner of Vrbo.
Oh, okay.
Like that's basically the only Airbnb competitor.
Right.
That's kind of interesting. So yeah, a bunch of travel services. I remember Uber talked about buying them. I don't remember when that was.
Uber talked about buying Expedia or
yeah.
Expedia?
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely Uber buying Expedia. So this is like 25 billion, and then Uber's what, 100 something,
Whoa.
166 billion. So it was definitely Uber buying them, and I believe
I didn't know if you were maybe talking about like a while ago, like this was
this was like 2 to
pre-IPO.
3 quarters ago. And I guess the CEO of Uber used to be, I'm not sure if it was the chief executive, but some type of executive at Expedia.
Oh,
So there is a relationship there, but kind of interesting.
yeah.
This is a great setup. Let's talk about this. We were talking about Airbnb being a trash stock earlier. And sure enough, here is Airbnb's #1 competitor, Expedia, printing fresh all-time highs relative to Airbnb. So this one is kind of dominating the travel services industry. And you have a ginormous, I think this was on the heels of earnings last week. You had a top and bottom line beat and a rally of 17.25%. And it engulfed like, I don't know how many candlesticks that was. Let's see. Looks like 11 candles to me. Expedia engulfed 11 weeks last week.
Wow.
So this one, I want to bet on more upside. And I think you can define your risk against this 190 level, which is where the stock peaked in early 2021. You found resistance there in late 21 and then eventually failed to break out in 2022. So and then once again in 2024 you respected this level. So I don't think this is going to be much of an issue. Of course there could be some bag holders there, but ultimately I think if this one's above 190, it's heading towards 250. So I love the Expedia. Great chart. You brought that one along.
Yeah, I was actually that one comes from Hanson.
Hanson.
I haven't
Always bring in
looked at that
solid
one in a minute, but these travel and leisure stocks have been catching a bid for first time in a while. I mean, it seems like since COVID, they've really kind of they haven't had a moment until now, but they've started perking up along with airlines, stuff like that.
It makes sense, dude. Like
yeah.
if we're in a bull market, consumers are gonna spend money.
Right. Let them enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here to ENS. This one comes from Rick. What are your thoughts on ENS these days? I'm not in, but is this a better time to get in, or wait until over 30? So
This just makes me think of the Ethereum name service, the crypto. I had to pull it up. Not much here to talk about though. So let's move on. So EnerSys. This is a $4 billion. Looks like,
Engages in the provision of stored energy solutions for industrial applications.
yeah. So
What,
it's
like
kind of a
industrial
battery
batteries?
stock, sounds like.
What's that?
It's a battery stock.
I guess so.
Battery stocks have kind of been popping off. But this one's pretty messy. I'm not really sure what to do with this. It's a big range.
It
I
is
think
quite
we should
messy,
just
right?
benchmark this to the S&P and talk about its laggardship. Here it is resolving or trying to resolve a multi-decade distribution pattern relative to the S&P 500. So this one is purely just a trading vehicle. There is no long-term outperformance in this stock. I think you could just... What do you think, Patrick? This thing is just so damn messy.
I think we might want to move on.
Yeah,
I think this
I don't
is a
like
mess,
this.
right?
Yeah.
What's the point in looking at something that doesn't look
Yeah,
good?
no, this stock sucks.
Let's look at Gilead. Move into biotech land.
Yeah, so Gilead is crushing it. I think you got to zoom out on this one and show this uptrend from the prior cycle. It rallied about 700% in just a few years, and this company is completely dominating the HIV market. They control about 50% of the HIV market in the United States, which seems to be a growing business, unfortunately.
Oh man. Dark.
Facts only, Patrick. So this is an incredibly important level here, this $98 to $100. It was support back here towards the end of the last cycle, so there are a lot of bag holders here. But the market didn't stop here for very long. You just got one month of consolidation before breaking out on the heels of an earnings report, which was yesterday, I believe. So if this one's above 100, I think the path of least resistance is higher towards this high from 2015, 123. That could happen awfully fast. I give it 1 to 3 months, I think, and it should get the job done. Ultimately, I think this one's on its way towards new all-time highs. So if it gets above that 123 level, I like it towards this 164. This thing's a beast. I think we should show it versus the biotech.
And I mean, this was a leader in biotech. You know, during the biotech bull market, like before 2015, that was a leader up there with like Biogen, Amgen. Gilead was one of the big boys.
What did they call it? Was it the Four Horsemen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard
one of those.
But
so here it is relative to the New York Stock Exchange biotech index, resolving a bearish to bullish reversal pattern, making new multi-year highs. This looks great.
Yeah, I agree. This thing looks like it's shaping up for something long term, right?
Yeah.
Sure. I got another good one for you. Hubs. This one comes from Elijah in the chat.
Shout out, Elijah. I believe that's my brother.
You may or may not know him.
So this is a $43 billion software stock. We were talking about Google earlier.
Man, these software stocks having quite a week, right? I think a lot of them are reporting that. That's probably why.
For sure. I think we should benchmark Hubs to the IGV to show this one has been a winner in the past. Since it IPO'd back in 2014, you've gotten about 500% alpha relative to its peers. And here you are trying to make new cycle highs and put the finishing touches on a bearish to bullish reversal pattern. So just from a relative standpoint, I love Hubs. And absolute terms as well. I mean, you look at this peak from 2021, which comes in at 866 on the dot. It's kind of fun when you see that. So that is your level to trade against. It's 866. If this one's above there, I think it's heading towards the first Fibonacci extension from this prior drawdown, which is about 12 and a half. So that could be 40, a little over 40% upside in a matter of, I think it happens in 3 to 6 months.
Wow.
Didn't take too long, but this is a sweet chart.
Yeah, a lot of these software names just shaping up, getting back to their 2021 peaks.
For sure. It's a great industry. And I think we've talked about just the intra-sector rotation between software and semiconductors. Like semis have sucked for some time now, but software has really picked up the slack and kept this bull market marching forward. So shout out software.
Let's take a look at Duolingo real quick. We got a couple more to get to, and then we'll shut it down.
Yes.
I know we're not going to be able to get to all of them, though, so be sure to just email us at questions@stockmarketmedia.com, and we will try to get to them Monday.
For sure. So Duolingo is, let's talk about what it is first. It's about, let's call it 20 billion. It's just a little bit shy, 18 and a half. But I think most of us are familiar with their app, language learning platform. This one has been, just like we did with HubSpot, let's look at Duolingo relative to the software industry group. And here it is, printing fresh all-time highs relative to software. And since this all-time low back in February 2022, there's been close to 300% alpha in the Duolingo. This one has outperformed. I think it's going to continue outperforming, but you are running into a big Fibonacci extension level right here at 437. So I expect this one to consolidate there for, I don't know how long, weeks, days, months, quarters, years, who knows, but I think you will find some resistance up there. But above 437, I think you're looking at a close to $700 stock here in Duolingo. They need to split their stock.
Yeah,
they're going up too much.
They tried to spin this one as an AI play too. I think anything for a brief moment, anything that was going up and showing relative strength somehow was an AI play.
Yeah, makes sense. You see that in every cycle too. Like it's been crypto before. What will it be next?
It's like PTJ said, the price moves first and the narrative follows, right?
It's so true.
But listen, it wouldn't be a CRL episode if we didn't get to Wavy's pick. So let's look at ENIC next.
So what in the world are we looking at here?
Chile.
This is a Chilean electric utility with about 7% dividend yield. PE ratio
where he
5. So this one is about as boring as it gets. So we can look at ENIC relative to the S&P 500. Super boring. It just goes down over time. I think it would look different if you looked at the total returns, but we're here to trade price, not collect dividends. So this one's not all that exciting, but you have seen quite the acceleration here. I could draw a parabolic trend line. It would match up perfectly with this. So it's hard to hate on it too much, You have seen a lot of relative strength from these electric utilities, just broadly all over the world, not just in Chile or the United States, but Europe, China also. And you have a really clean level here at 335 in the ENIC. So if it's above there, I think it's heading towards close to $4, 389. Let's see, Wavy. Maybe 15% in this one. Wavy usually doesn't bring us this boring stock bull.
Listen, it's had a okay few weeks.
It has. I respect it, but
it's not.
a software
I didn't
stock.
get to everyone's picks here. But we'll try to get to them Monday. So stop back in on Monday, same time. But I want to end with China because I mean, you and I could talk about China all day. But this one comes from Silvercut. He said, "Can we go through Chinese stocks briefly and maybe some potential entries?" So why don't you pick one or any of these, Baidu, Baba, KWeb, or EH?
Hmm. That's a tough one. Let's just look at KWeb first, since it's a broader measure. I think we looked at this last episode. We were dropping these VWAPs. But when China's working, there's no better place to be than Chinese internet stocks. And boy, is this setup sweet in the Chinese internet ETF, ticker KWeb. You have a clear line in the sand here at 35, maybe 36 bucks. I think it's going to clear that in the next week, maybe 2 weeks. I think it's getting the job done very soon, though. And from there, I think you're going to get a swift leg higher towards this $51. And I think we should look at KWeb relative to IGV. So this is Chinese internet relative to the United States internet. And you can see that over time, China sucks. But they do have some sweet counter trend moves, like right here in late 2022, rallied about 100% in a matter of a few weeks. So to see Chinese internet rally back towards this level from 2022 and do it very fast wouldn't surprise me at all. I think that's the bet here, and that includes Alibaba, Baidu.
I was going to say that KWeb chart looks awfully lot like Baba for obvious reasons. I mean, I think it's the number one component, if not one of the biggest. So let me ask you this. Do you think KWeb needs Baba to break that like 120 level in order to go?
That's a tough question for me to answer. Just I want to say no, but Baba is about 11.2% of the entire KWeb fund, so of course it's gonna help a tremendous amount if Baba can get the job done here.
Do you think she does? I mean, she's knocked a few
I think
times.
it does. You know, how many times do you have to knock at the door, Patrick?
Right.
It's done it a lot. I can't imagine there's a lot of bag holders left. I think they're gonna let this one break out. It's a sweet setup.
You know what? I know we said we were done here, but pull up Lit, and then we're definitely done. Tell me what you think of Lit.
This is interesting.
Earlier, right? We looked at a battery stock.
Yeah, we did.
I was looking at JD Florida Man.
Shout out. I was looking at the QuantumScape earlier. I believe they reported earlier this morning. I really like this EOS as well. You have a sweet trend reversal there, a Kardashian bottom. But we were looking at Lit, so I think this is really what needs to happen is Lit needs to break above this multi-year downtrend line, and I think it gets the job done. You know, it's a bull market. There's no reason for it not to participate. You know, these are stocks too, and during bull markets, all stocks go up. And you have, I think you could outline this as a Kilroy bottom, inverted head and shoulders basing formation.
Yep.
Whatever you want to call it.
If you pull it all the way back to like kind of the inception peak, you know, right after it was issued, that level it's at now, like kind of where the neckline is, coincides with that initial peak that from 2011.
I love that. So this could be marked up as like a failed breakdown.
Yep. And what a better way to fail than a nice, like, solid head and shoulders. I like this one a lot.
I like it too.
I don't know
let
if
me pull up the holdings and let's just go through the top ones.
Yeah.
So at the top you have ticker ALB. You have Tesla. You have BYD. We've looked at a few of these this episode. You have a lot of tickers that aren't listed in the US, so there's not a lot of options, but I think we've listed a few good ones.
But that's information too, right? Like we have covered a few of them here. So if that theme starts working, this one, logic follows that it should follow, right?
For sure. And look at how this trends, from this 2020 low to the late 2021 peak. It rallied 400%, and that's less than 2 years. This can move like the ARK funds, like the craziest, most speculative ETFs in the market. So.
And Sam, I know you look at a lot of commodities. Would that fit with this theme too, or
Yeah, no, totally. If copper is going to be, let's look at copper. If copper is going to be breaking out of this massive base that goes back to the great financial crisis, you have one peak in 2006, another in 2008, another in 2011. You peaked there again in 2021. You found resistance there in 2024. I think copper is ready to take out this level and make a new all-time high. And we're probably talking about $8 copper before you know it, Patrick. And I think if you're betting on $8 copper, you want to bet on higher tin, higher rebar, higher iron ore.
That's the thing, is for the first time in probably 4 or 5 years, you're hearing things like palladium again and platinum. And so some of these rare earth metals are shaping up. So who knows? Maybe we'll be talking about lit in a year or two, right?
For sure. I love it when we talk about commodities. I get a little tired talking about software stocks all the time. They're great, but
they're great.
I'd like for other things to participate too.
Some rebar, get them some live cattle, some lean hogs.
Sure.
I like it. Well, hey, everyone, we got to leave it here for today. I know we didn't get to everything, so be sure to just drop us an email, questions@stockmarketmedia.com, and we will try to get to them on Monday. One more time, I'm Patrick Donawilla. This is Sam Gatlin. Thank you guys so much. See you next time.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for being here.